Okay, so recently there have been, in the NCAA swimming, a woman who became a man and a man who became a woman, or male to female, female to male, transgender issues, participating in various swim meets and just crushing the competition.
You could stop right there. I'm completely against it.
Okay.
Shouldn't happen. Horrible. Whoever thought of that, absolutely the craziest idea I've ever heard. And anyone who supports that should really think long and hard as to whether or not by me chopping my thing off, putting on a mini dress, growing some breasts, and calling myself a she, if that's fair for me to absolutely obliterate and knock out real women. By real women, I mean a biological woman who naturally has a smaller frame, smaller body, is less strong. I'm 100% with you. Crazy.
So at least all of these things will serve to force anyone in the conversation to acknowledge that there are differences between men and women.
Oh my gosh, of course. No one ever said there's no differences.
A lot of people want us to treat it that way.
Let me tell you who says that there's big differences.
Go on.
Transgenders. If there were no difference, there was nothing for me to transition to. There was nothing for me to transition to. There's massive differences, such big differences that I gotta chop my thing off. That's how big the difference is.
Right.
It's a procedure worth of differences. In fact, it's more than one procedure worth of differences. It's painful worth of differences. It's a whole forcing my immediate circle to call me a she and new pronouns worth of differences. There's a lot of differences. And if there were no differences, we wouldn't be transitioning.
So then, in the world of vast differences, particularly legitimizing transgender operations, which we do, which we legitimize, which are legitimate. To each their own. I'm just because I don't understand it doesn't mean it isn't right. So let's just say that we legitimize this as an American culture, or at least a human culture, and at some capacity. So we do acknowledge there are vast differences between male and female. So how do we celebrate those differences, embrace those differences without I don't know. I don't want to say without offending people, because I could care less. Everyone gets offended all the time. It's all the rage to get offended these days. But
you can't control if someone gets offended.
Sure, and I'm not terribly worried. Maybe it's brash. I'm not that worried about everyone's feelings all the time about everything. I would never be able to move because people have a spectrum of feelings. So anybody just has to live their lives.
What's the saying? If you don't want to offend someone, you just keep your mouth shut.
Or stay in bed, don't go outside, like all of it, because people can get offended very easily.
100%.
Especially this day and age. So in the world where people are always offended, and in a world where people act on that being offended, that offendedness, and have legitimacy in their offendedness, how do we balance allowing people to do what they do in their private lives and also not stepping on other people's toes?
100%. So like I said, I think first thing is if it spills into your life in direct ways, you 100% have a say in the matter. 100%. 100%. You pay for the channels on TV to watch a sport you love, and you should get to see fair competition. Fair competition. It's a concept that exists since the beginning of time. We all understand that we would never put a 5-year-old and a 20-year-old to fight each other. Why? Because it's not fair. So now we have a dude who wears a dress and an actual biological woman, and he knocks her out, or she knocks her out, whatever you want to call this individual, and we call that fair. That is not fair. So that's the first thing I'll say. That's not fair. So anything that directly affects your life, I'm with you. Now, in areas that it doesn't affect your life, I personally am of the belief that if someone wants you to call her a she or a he, here's the thing. I don't really have the time to start arguing with that personally. You want me to call you a she, I'll call you a she. You want me to call you a he, I'll call you a he. Whatever you want. You want me to say that by chopping the thing off and putting on women's clothing, you're now a different gender? That I won't do, because I don't lie to people, and I don't lie to myself. So depends how far you want to take the conversation. But in terms of me referring to you as a woman and saying she and telling you you're so pretty and you look magnificent and oh my gosh, I'll do whatever you want me to do, no problem. But I would not say that I
There are
believe-
some babes out there who used to be dudes.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
I mean, haven't you ever been to Thailand?
Dude, there's some good. I think there was a Victoria's Secret one model.
Probably more than one.
Dude, I'm not saying they can't. You could be beyond good. There's many of them are better looking than biological women.
Haven't you ever been to Vietnam? Sorry, I'm just
100%.
kidding.
No, many of them are better looking than. We're not sitting. This is not a conversation on looks. No one is sitting here knocking looks. I'm not. We're strictly talking facts here. You want me to call you a she? No problem. You want me to say that now you're a different gender? I don't believe it's something that could be changed. Just like I don't believe that, I don't know, just like I don't believe that I could have this in front of me and nothing else, and at the same time I have a bottle of vodka and a bottle of wine here at this. No, the facts are facts, right? But if you want me to call this a plate, I could do that. If you want me to call this something else, I'll do that. No, it doesn't really affect me. I don't see it as affecting me. If other people see it as it affects their life directly, I respect that. That's them for them to decide. But for me personally, let's call things as they are.
So how should we divide the NCAA swimming divisions? Should we no longer do male and female? Should we divide them up to? Well, how should we divide them to see a fair competition? People really competing. I mean, it doesn't do any good to have Michael Phelps in the college division, right? We take him out whether he's a man or not because he's killing everyone. So what division does he go? He goes to the Olympics and then he still kills people. So
well, and that's another problem, right? Where do you draw the line on the other side?
Well, okay. So in rugby, you'd have a weight grade. In boxing, you have a weight grade.
Okay.
So I ask you then, will a 60-kilogram female fight a 60-kilogram male? Will that actually be a fight to watch? Will that be a fair fight? I don't know.
Right. So that's an interesting question. So first of all, I don't think same gender. So again, you're talking to someone who believes there's two different genders and they both shouldn't compete with each other ever, period. That's my belief. Now, does that mean there's no women who could kick men's ass? Heck no. Does that mean that there's no men? We're talking generalities here. There's women who are so badass, I don't want to cross their. Let me tell you something. There's women who will kick my butt and will make a schmata out of me. I'm not sitting here saying everyone's everything. But generally speaking, I don't think females should compete with males. But also, to what you were saying, Michael Phelps, when someone reaches a level that just completely destroys everyone, it's interesting because on the one hand you go, wait a minute, okay, so he's the winner. He's the best. Right? That's what this is about. He deserves it. On the other hand, you go, well, no one really has a fair chance here. And if we want to stick with what we said before, fair competition, there's many other ways where it could not be fair beyond transgenderism. Transgenderism is just a small little blip in sports that might make things unfair. Take drug use, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We frown upon hormone therapy in every sport. I mean, Lance Armstrong's basically been dismissed from the thing that he crushed, by the way, while everyone else was doing it too, but never mind.
Right. But there's so many other things that will make it not fair.
Exactly.
And that's an interesting thing. Where do you draw the line?
So where do we draw the line?
Big question. Well, I won't sit here and pretend I know.